Andy's going to college. Can you believe it? What are you going to do with these old toys?
Okay, calm down, guys. Let's just keep this in perspective.
Where's she taking us?
I should have seen this coming.
We'll be fine, Jesse.
Oh, I hate all this uncertainty!
New toys!
Welcome to Sunnyside, folks.
Oh, may I? Ooh!
Ken, we got guests.
So, who's ready for Ken's dream tour?
Let's show our new friends where they'll be staying.
Folks, if you want to step right this way. Hi, I'm Ken.
Barbie.
Love your leg warmers.
Nice ass cut.
Oh, I want to get played with.
Rex, they just love new toys now, don't they?
Hey, what do you guys think of the new recruits? Any keepers?
Mr. Softy over here.
What do you expect from a girl's toy?
I'm not a girl's toy! I'm not!
We're busting out of here. Okay, all clear.
We gotta get you home before Andy leaves tomorrow.
And what's important now is we stay together.
I'll never make it! Let's go!
Good luck, folks.
You're gonna need it.
Incoming! You would not believe what I've been through tonight.
And welcome back to episode 39 of Wheel of Movies here on the Movie Hero Network. I am your host, Austin Pez Howell, joined as always with my co-host here on Wheel of Movies, Richie Goodacre. How's it going, buddy?
Yeah, no, they're going good. I'm going good. I'm getting there. Look, I'm pulling up all right. It's going to be okay. It's going to be all right. Like this movie didn't get to me at all. I didn't.
No, I totally wasn't cutting onions like an hour and a half ago when I finished this movie. No, absolutely not. I was strong, steadfast, ready to go. Yeah, what movie were we talking about? We're talking about Toy Story 3, as you might have guessed from the trailer there, is what we spun this week. And we will, just before we get too far, we do realize that Val Kilmer passed away a few days ago. We will be addressing that as far as our next episode of Wheel of Movies, so stick around to the end, and we'll let you know what we'll be doing for Val Kilmer, because that is a big one. Unfortunately, this is the place where we have to do tribute episodes here on Movies. What did we make it, 1 week? we made it one episode. We just did, Crimson Tide for Gene Hackman, and we got one more episode in, and we got another one we got to do. So, but it's a big one. I mean, we're gonna honor the man. So we'll get to that. But let's start with Toy Story 3 here. Richie, released June 18th, 2010, directed by Lee Unkrich, who was a co-director on like Monsters Inc. and Finding Nemo, Toy Story 2. But he solo directed this, and then went on to solo direct Coco as well, and the upcoming Coco 2. So Coco also a big one for him. The most expensive movie, animated movie ever made at this point. A budget of $200 million, and this is in 2010 dollars. And there's a kind of a reason for that, but if you adjust for inflation, this is a $300 million budget animated movie. So an absolutely insane budget on this thing, but there's for good reason. And the movie does look great. So, I mean, it's on the screen. But the positive side of that, Richie, is it was $1 billion movie. It grossed slightly over $1 billion worldwide. So it made the money, made it back, and made the hefty profit. So they did just fine. This one,
I assume, given the we're in the era of unnecessary big budgets, it's been that record being broken now.
For animated stuff, maybe. I don't know about animated stuff. Frozen might have beat that, or Frozen 2. I'm sure there have been ones. I just know at the time it was the most expensive animated movie, but it was also the first animated movie to gross $1 billion. So again, they set a record, but set another record, and there have been multiple $1 billion animated movies since then. The Frozen films, even most recently with like Moana 2, Inside Out 2, all grossing over $1 billion. So
Mario, I believe.
Yeah, Mario. Yeah, so there's been some ones, and all those Despicable Me and like Minions movies, I think, made $1 billion. So yeah, they make their money, man. They do their thing. But yeah, one of the reasons for that is there's a whole interesting pre-production history, Richie, with a subset studio that was supposed to make this movie, a subset of Disney, a new one called Circle 7 Studios that was short-lived, that didn't last very long. And Circle 7 was kind of a spin-off of Pixar. They were going to make this movie, Toy Story 3. But then when Pixar was kind of separate from Disney, and then the Disney-Pixar merger happened in like 2006. So when Disney officially kind of bought Pixar, and they kind of merged, they cut Circle 7 out of the thing altogether. They had already had scripts. They were already in pre-production. They'd already been doing some pre-animation, all kinds of things like that, and the whole movie was scrapped. So there's essentially a version of this movie out there with the script and everything that just never
I know a bit about it. I think it involves. I think Buzz has a more central part in it, where I think it's like the idea is that like something goes wrong with like the Buzz toys and they have to be recalled or something. Yeah. So
yeah, it's like a massive like global Buzz Lightyear recall. So Buzz gets caught up in that. I'm assuming because of Andy's mom or something like that. Turns him in for the recall, and it involves an adventure of them all going to Taiwan to save Buzz, and then encountering all these other recalled Buzzes that are going haywire and wonky, and meeting some foreign toys and things like that. It was a whole global adventure type of a thing, essentially, Richard.
Yeah, and there was like a mega Buzz that was like supposed to be a villain.
Yeah, like a mishmash of the Buzz gone wrong, kind of a Child's Play situation. So, but yeah, that's kind of what the original movie was. But when the studio was scrapped, Lee Unkrich was brought in, and they essentially just started from scratch. And they started, they just did a whole new movie, new script, and new everything. So there's really no concepts at all from the original movie. Like what we got is just a completely separate thing. I did see where somebody made like a fan trailer of what that movie might have been with like used footage or something. It was something. I couldn't tell. I didn't get a chance to watch it. But that was the idea. Tom Hanks, $15 million for this part, the highest salary for a voice performance in history. $15 million, and it was 300 times higher than his original salary for Toy Story, which was $50,000. He had quite the upgrade in the two movies since then. But he was a big star back then, but still, higher now. So, going forward, again, 5 Oscar nominations for Toy Story 3, including Best Picture with the extended Best Picture things, adapted screenplay, sound editing, animated feature, and original song for We Belong Together, another Randy Newman original, and it won 2. It won Best Animated Feature and 1 for Best Original Song, but nominated for 5.
I believe this was the first animated feature to be nominated for Best Picture for a while. Like that was a long time. Was it?
Not since Beauty and the Beast, I believe. Yeah, in like 91. I know Up, was nominated. Wasn't Up nominated like the year before that or something like that, or the year?
I don't know. I don't know. I have to look it up. I feel like that. The people think it did. I don't know if they actually ended up. It didn't. It could have. It's one that definitely could have. But I just know there was a gap between animations getting nominated for the big award.
Probably because it made grown adults cry like little girls, so it got nominated for Best Picture. That's what we'll talk about. Just for what it's worth, Quentin Tarantino's favorite movie of 2010. He loved this movie, so good on him, I guess. The writing the writing's very good, so I'll give it that. We'll get into it. The staff watched because essentially there's a prison break in the middle of this movie, and the staff said they essentially watched every prison break movie they could get their hands on. So your Great Escapes, your Escape from Alcatraz, your Cool Hand Luke, which we get a direct reference to in this movie, a couple of direct references. I'm sure your Shawshank Redemptions, things like anything with a prison break, they binged and took different concepts from essentially. With that, Blake Clark, one of the notable notable recastings because unfortunately Jim Varney passed away in 2000, right after the release of Toy Story 2, which he did do the voice of that. But Blake Clark took over for this one because Jim Varney, my boy Ernest, had passed away. But Blake Clark and Jim Varney were friends in real life, so I think he would have been fine with that. They were buddies.
So it's like, that's a decent, replacement. He's got a similar cadence to his voice, like similar.
Yeah,
similar.
he got that kind of gravelly voice, so it's fine. And Slinky's not like a giant major character, anyways, who talks a lot. He mostly just does action, so it's only kind of minor lines here and there. To your average kid, they probably wouldn't notice, anyways. For the most part. But yeah, Blake Clark takes over. We get some new cast members that we'll talk about as we go throughout the movie. Like I said, first animated film to hit $1 billion. This is just kind of another fun fact that I brought up related to this year's release of The Monkey. If anyone was wondering why the monkey in that movie, the monkey has the drumsticks instead of the cymbals, it is because of this movie. Disney was the first to ever put on screen that monkey with the cymbals into a movie, which is a direct reference, obviously, to the Stephen King story. But they were the first ones to kind of license that version of that monkey. So when they went to make, when Osgood Perkins goes to make this new version of the monkey, they are unable to use the cymbals because this is copyrighted by Disney. So they couldn't use that. Had to do the drumming instead. So if people ever wondered there's your answer right there. It's because it's which is very funny in this movie, by the way. Yeah, the little bit where they talk about the monkey watching the camera, just constantly screaming, slam those together. It's really great. It's a lot of fun. So it's a great way to use them. But yeah, so that's most of the kind of the pre-production I have. If you want to go look up the story of Circle 7 Studios and the other version of Toy Story 3, there are articles out there. I won't go too far into that. If you'd like to look it up, there are kind of Wikipedia articles, things like that. But yeah, let's get into this actual movie. Richie, did you see Toy Story 3 in the theaters? And what's kind of your history with Toy Story in general? Did you kind of grow up with the movies? And whatnot?
Yeah, Toy Story 3, I had to see them in the theater. It was one of my most anticipated but once it was announced, I'm like, oh my god, that's happening. Because I didn't think there was a gap between Toy Story 2 and Toy Story 3.
And that was one of the reasons for the gap, is because they were that original Circle 7 was supposed to release in 2008, and then when that was scrapped, it took obviously a few extra years to get this one out.
Yeah. So I'm like, I was in. So I think I saw it opening weekend or whatever, and with a bunch of friends, and loved it, obviously. But I think Toy Story was one of the first movies I think I ever watched in a theater. The first movie I ever watched was Lion King, but this was definitely one of the earlier ones as well, and definitely one of the first, probably the first movie for a lot of people in that animation style, the 3D, the
3D animation,
that style. So I fell in love with these sort of characters, and became one of my sort of favorite movies. So sort of my history is that these movies sort of are a big part of my my childhood and sort of growing up, and look, I mean, we'll get to it later, but as much as I might have my misgivings about Toy Story 5, am I going to watch it opening weekend? Yeah.
Oh, of course. Yeah. I mean, I saw Toy Story 4 opening weekend. So, yeah, of course. No, I'm kind of similar. I definitely grew up with these movies. I still remember the night I saw Toy Story, the first one. I was 9 years old. I remember what theater I went to. I remember the night. I remember it vividly because I had a fever that night. I was running a fever. My parents tried to give me some aspirin to take, and I hated taking pills when I was a kid. So I kind of faked like I took them, and then I spit them out behind their back, in the parking lot, and didn't take them, like a naughty little kid. But I remember that, I fell in love with that movie. We bought it on VHS, watched it a whole bunch. Was there opening weekend for Toy Story 2. Then we bought that on VHS, watched it a whole bunch. Those movies got a lot of play, owning them. And they only kind of got better. I at the time I thought, Toy Story 2 was even better than the first one. Also because I was getting older with the movies, kind of like we see Andy's progression, through these movies. I started out, I was 9 when the first one came out. I'm 13, so I'm a teenager when the second one comes on. Andy's a little older, in that second movie. And then here he's off to college. And while I wasn't exactly college age per se, I was 24 when this movie came out, but I'm still roughly, an adult now, kind of like Andy was. So it's kind of a similar journey that I have with Andy in these movies. Maybe it's why I related to it so much, because it's just like, I remember having those boxes of donated toys and, garage sales, things like that. And so I relate a lot to that. But I was there opening day for this movie. Like I said, bawled my eyes out. Luckily, I was in one of the rows closest to the screen. It was like a day show on a Friday, so it wasn't too populated yet. And then went back and saw it again with my family, and had to kind of hide the fact that I was still tearing up even on the second one, trying to look away on the second one. But I mean, we've talked about it, Richie. I love this movie, and I think this movie's a masterpiece. But I can't watch it as much as the other two, because I get too emotionally invested into it. You know what I mean? So I can only pop this one in once a year, if that. You know what I mean? And whip it out and watch it.
Yeah, I'm a bit the same. Where I'm like, I got it. I need to I definitely need to gear myself up to watch it. You know what I mean? I'm sure when Toy Story 5 is approaching, I will try to maybe do a rewatch of the 4, but I'm definitely have to go it might be I might do 1 and 2 and then be like, okay, let's do something else for a while, and then I'll go to 3.
Because one's very breezy. We just showed my niece the first one. She's starting to get into these movies, so she really liked the first one, and that movie's very breezy, and there's not a lot of big emotional moments in that one. Probably the most emotional thing is when Buzz has the realization that he's a toy and he falls off the stairs and things like that. But even that's not that dark. The darkest thing in that is the Jesse montage with the Sarah McLachlan song. Is obviously the toughest thing in that one, and that is kind of it's Up, where it's a perfect little 2-minute history of this character, all wrapped up in one big thing. And that's great. And Sarah McLachlan obviously is makes make you cry.
She's the poster woman of sad songs.
And I do watch this movie, and the good first third, 2/3 of this movie is kind of breezy, like a Toy Story movie, and it has emotional moments, but it's still fairly kind of breezy, and it's an adventure, and like I said, there's a prison break and all that kind of stuff, and it's fun. And then it starts to get to the end, and you're like, oh god, here we go. In that third act, you're just like, oh Jesus, here we go.
I'm gonna die.
I mean, we'll get there. I never thought they were gonna die, but we'll get
I didn't think that either, but you still get oh my god.
Oh no, you're just like, no. Please, somebody do something. But let's get into the actual movie and get into kind of what we got our setup as. And we open the movie essentially with is kind of a flashback replay of the opening of Toy Story 1, where we get this. If you go back and watch Toy Story 1, this is the playtime that he's doing in that movie with Dr. Porkchop and Potato Head, and he's robbing the bank and the train chase and all this stuff. And this is an updated version of that, where it's a cinematic thing. Now, I have a thing I want to get your opinion on, Richie, because I have my opinion, but I've heard multiple theories, and because Chad Webb is offered a different perspective. Is this sequence what Andy sees when he's playing with his imagination, or is this what the toys see when they're being played with? Because I tend to think it's what the toys see when they're being played with, but that's just me. I can see it either way.
I would kind of. I tend to go towards maybe the latter of the two. I think maybe it's just to make it more of a, to make it more because it's more cinematic and more make it sort of a more, maybe intense situation. You know what I mean? That'd be from the toys perspective that would make more sense. I know that it's a kid's imagination or whatever, but I don't know. I just feel like that's it's possible, yeah, that like, yeah, I mean, you can look at it both ways, but I think it could be like the toy sort of maybe joining it, like maybe joining in on the fun, but also kind of be like maybe like adding sort of adding intensity to this, maybe sort of a playful situation. I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't know. Just
Yeah, no, well, I tend to think it's like the toys getting into it. If Andy's like, especially in that opening scene of the first one, he's like narrating, what's going on, and here he comes. I've got the force field, with the dog. I got the attack, as he's like moving the toys around. I just feel like maybe there's a thing with the toy perspective where they get like immersed into the situation. That's why they like being played with, if that makes sense. They're always wanting to be to get played with, and that's a big theme of this movie, especially when they get to Sunnyside. And maybe it's because like when kids play with them, they get immersed into this like other world. I know I'm building this in my head, but maybe I'm out of my mind. I don't know.
And they can only really be like showed to be real when like people are out of the room. You know what I mean? And then but in this time that they can, they can't like reveal themselves to be real. They can sort of like immerse themselves in this world and sort of feel like a certain reality would be would be like while while letting Andy play. So but it could be just as straightforward as a kid's imagination. But I do like to think of the other side too.
I mean, I'm just adding lore to the movie. Who knows? They expand on the lore in Toy Story 4, which we can talk about. But so I mean, but we get these kind of like home videos. We see Andy. It's a nice little kind of flashback to Andy kind of growing up and playing with the toys, and then we flash forward to kind of the present day, if you will. Andy is going off to college. He's packing up a lot of his stuff. We see Molly, the sister, is kind of growing up now. She looks like she's kind of an early teenager or something like that. She's she's maybe 12, 13, something like that. We get a look at Buster, the dog, who was last time we saw him was running all over the place and had a lot of energy, and now he's old and tired.
On his last leg.
No, I mean it's played for comic, but I know how we both know how that feels. We're dog guys, so when your dog unfortunately is just getting in that last stage of life, and all they want to do is sleep and not do much of anything.
I don't want to go for walks. I don't want to go for walks.
You have to go outside and pee. No, you have to. You can't do it in here. Go outside. But it's a nice little joke when in the first little kind of rescue, and Woody calls for Buster, come on, let's go ride, Buster, and he just kind of comes in and plops down and rolls over. It's a nice little joke, getting us to where we are. And there's a great little moment, Richie, where they're setting up the scheme to kind of get Andy's eyes on them in the toy box, where they like steal his phone and they call, or they steal his cell phone, they call the cell phone. There's a moment there where Andy picks up, and you see Woody being like, should I say something? Should I break kayfabe, if you will, to use like wrestling terms? You know what I mean? Like he considers it for a second. You can see it in his eyes. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah. It's just like, because he there's a point where he probably could and still maintain that, like, that. Because it's a phone, it's not like you could see him, so you could still, what I mean? Like you could
just do a voice, but not say who it is. Yeah,
he still could do a voice, but then it still could be risky. I don't know.
But it's breaking toy code, which I think Woody doesn't do unless he has to. I think the only time he ever does it outside of that is with the Sid moment, where he comes.
The Sid moment where it's like, "Hey, you're being a dick. We're gonna,
play nice." I mean, he did it to a villain, so I mean that makes sense, just to scare him. And Sid probably chalked it up later to having a hallucination or something. Who knows?
Does Sid show up in this one, or he shows up in four?
Sid is in the movie. He's the garbage man that picks up the garbage from the house.
He shows up the garbage man, which is like, I think he he references garbage or something in the first one, which is interesting. So I think there's an interesting parallel between him and being a garbage man or something. I think there was some like theories like, oh yeah,
Yeah,
that's why.
he's wearing the same like skull T-shirt design. It's voiced by Aaron Von. For the brief moment we get to hear his voice, it's Eric Von Detten who voiced him in the original movie. So it is Sid. Like that is confirmed that he's a garbage man. Hey, nothing wrong with being a garbage man. You know, world needs garbage men. Yeah, so maybe he straightened his act out and grew up. But yeah, that is him. And yeah, we get this kind of misunderstanding where Andy's putting they're getting ready to go in the attic because they're going to get put in the attic, and then what he's trying to hype him up like, yeah, the attic's not so bad. There's race tracks and board games. There's an old TV up there. We're gonna be fine. We'll all be together. We'll just be hanging out. But Andy's gonna take Woody to college in his college box. I'm assuming to put him on the desk or the dorm desk or whatever, and have them hang out there. But there's a misunderstanding where they get put in a garbage bag instead, get kind of thrown out with the trash, and it's a whole misunderstanding here. Where they think they're just getting tossed when they were originally getting put in the attic. There's a whole thing about the attic, and this is really like attic's not so bad. We'll go in the attic and just hang out. But
yeah, no, it's cool. Yeah, it's like no, yeah, no, nothing. Yeah, nothing like useful or no, I like if I had an attic, I'd just you'd stock just random things you don't need in there and just be cluttered. So yeah, it's just attic is just for things that you just let pile up. So,
yeah, for sure. But he doesn't want to throw them away because he's got that attachment to him. So understandably so. But there's a misunderstanding here. So. But they see an opportunity. There's a box of toy things that are going to Sunnyside Daycare to get donated, and Jesse and Buzz get the idea that we can go to this daycare. Woody tells them daycare is not what you think it is. It turns out Woody's right, but for the different reasons that he's right. It's not that like daycare is that bad in theory, but it's obviously what's going on behind the scenes of the daycare. We'll get into it. But yeah, they decide we're gonna get donated instead. We're gonna move on to Sunnyside Daycare.
I like the name too. It's always like daycare's always like sunny. Yeah, it's always something like vibrant, Sunnyside, rainbow daycare or Sunnyville.
Or like retirement homes are always like vibrant living retirement home or something like that. Like for the last part of your life.
I understand you can't go like dark, but yeah, it's like. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's vibrant living, but it's it's evergreen retirement, like something like it's always like something like sort of vibrant and like positive and bright, and then like when you talk about like retirement homes or a daycare, I thought that was a nice touch.
Yeah, it's a nice touch. Because they think it looks great. They're like, "Oh, there's a rainbow on the door. There's a playground. Oh, it looks fun." It's good stuff. We briefly meet Bonnie, who we'll come back to in the movie. This like little girl. So what she looked like about 4 or 5 years old, something like that. A little girl who attends the daycare. We'll come back to her because she obviously plays a big role. In this movie and the sequel, of course, and some of those little short films that they did. But yeah, we go into Sunnyside and we see what's going on. There's 2 different rooms. There's the caterpillar room, which they don't get a glimpse of at first, and there's the butterfly room. So one is for, as we find out, the caterpillar room is for like the it seems like 4-year-olds, maybe 3-4-year-olds, pretty young kids, still kind of toddlers essentially. And then you got the butterfly room, which is like 7-8-year-olds. It looks like little older, little calmer, not quite as rambunctious. As the caterpillar room.
Yeah. I don't know. It was like I remember. I can't remember. It's like my is it normal for 7 or 8-year-olds to go to date? I guess it's like after school care. I guess, and then
it depends. If it's after school care, or it could be like a summer program situation, because I know there are summer, daycares. There are yeah, certain ones where they go there, after school until the parents pick them up. So yeah, it's not out of the question, I would think.
Oh, yeah,
that they would be,
yeah.
have slightly older. We should ask Jacob Barber. He's in daycare.
Yeah. No, yeah, because I mean, I did go to after school care, but yeah, that's just a separate thing. But yeah, no, but I like the idea of like these two sort of, two different, obviously different age groups, so obviously different, personality, sort of different advancements in human development. So
Yes. And we see the differences in the play style in a minute, but yeah, they everything's looking up. It's looking good. You get to the butterfly room, they get dropped off. Everybody seems excited. New toys, and we see a whole bunch of toys. I did read somewhere, Richie, that there are like 300 distinct toy characters in this movie, and obviously some of these shots of all the toys scattered in like these shots of like the butterfly room, or when they're panning around the caterpillar, all the ones hiding under the desks and things like that. There's like 300 distinct toy characters, which is kind of insane that they had to come up with these designs. I'm sure it's like whatever old toy you used to have, just draw it. You know what I mean? All the animators and just come up with anything you can come up with.
Just Google childhood toys. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah. That one.
Yeah.
That one.
Yep, that one. All of which ones do you want? All of them. Every single one of them.
All of them. What IP do we own? Yeah. Okay, cool. That one.
The bookworm, the phone, the old play school phone you used to have, all that stuff, just write it all in there. But yeah, we get in there, we meet, and we kind of meet our primary antagonist, although obviously we don't know he's the antagonist yet. We meet Lotso Huggin Bear, voiced great, wonderfully by Ned Beatty.
Yeah.
Ned Beatty's awesome in this movie. He's fantastic.
So good.
Yes, yeah, he's great. No, the way he's got that kind of southern drawl, just like the "How y'all doing, folks? Come on down, meet everybody. Welcome to Sunnyside." Yeah, no, Ned Beatty's great, and this is one of his last big roles. He didn't pass away till like 2021 or something like that. But if you look at his filmography, he didn't do a whole lot after this. Is kind of his last really big role, and it's a good one here, man. He's fantastic. There's lots of that. Kind of the putting on the false, Southern hospitality, sort of welcoming attitude, and then when he turns it on later, he's awesome when he turns on the craziness.
Maybe but maybe the toys at this point should not that cause division, but maybe they should be wary of people from the South or Southern accents, because in Toy Story 3 with a Stinky Pete,
that, and I think it's a direct reference to how Ned Beatty was in Deliverance when they go into the Deep South and encounter some not so great people in the South. You know what I mean? I think it's almost a reversal of that. But he's the guy you have to be afraid of, and in that movie, he's the guy who makes the piggy noises. You've seen that movie. So, I think it's kind of a direct, almost like a reversal of that kind of role. So maybe if they had seen Deliverance, they would recognize Ned Beatty's voice and they would be wary of him. So everything seems kind of on the up and up. He's taking the tour around. They've got fresh batteries, and you can get stuffed, and you get stitched up, and they've got everything you need, and everything's looking good. This is where we get our introduction. We see the Barbie dream house, and Ken comes out. Holy shit, is Ken great in this movie? Michael Keaton as Ken. I think the Ken and Barbie stuff is some of the best stuff in this movie. It's so funny. He's great. Every time Michael Keaton as Ken is on the screen, I love it. He absolutely steals this movie. He is so much fun. Just his optimism about everything, his aloof, he's kind of a dumb, kind of a goof, kind of an airhead. He gets with obviously Barbie feels like, she doesn't know about Ken. She's only known herself, but she's like, "Oh, you seem familiar. We should, be together." And, he obviously starts to kind of woo her and wants to be with her. Oh my God. I mean, I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but
the line of the trailer, nice ascot.
Ascot, yeah. The bits that they do later, and I know I'm jumping ahead, but I can't help it. They're great. Where when she's, before she goes to trick him, when he's, showing off his clothing with the modeling thing to freak out. It's so great when he's modeling the astronaut outfit and the kung fu outfit and the hippie outfit and everything, and he's just dancing and doing all that. She's like, "Woo," and then when he gets tied up and she's kind of trying to torture him to get information, but she's torturing him by just ripping up his different pieces of clothing. He's trying to play it off like, oh, I don't give it. Oh God, oh please, oh not the summer collection. Oh Jesus God, just not the '67 jacket. Oh no, it's so great.
But there's also like a denial there because obviously he's like at first with the dressing up in like the kung fu outfit, all that sort of the manly clothes. There's through like you see in the trailer, through the denial of like like I'm not a girl's toy, and then this denial of like he might be a bit feminine, a bit gay.
He's battling with the fact that everybody thinks he's super feminine, and has all these elaborate outfits. He owns more clothes than Barbie does, and all that kind of stuff. Just this giant attic, full of all these different outfits. Yeah, it's great. Michael Keaton's so great. I think he puts everything into it. I didn't know it was him when I initially saw the movie, and then when I went and like looked up the IMDb, I was like, oh shit, that was Michael Keaton. And then like when you listen to it back and it's him, you can hear it, it's there, but you don't initially know that. But yeah, he's a scene stealer. He's awesome in this movie. Yeah, it's kind of like he's sort of Lotso's kind of right-hand man, that kind of runs stuff too. And he eventually kind of ends up running Sunnyside at the end, in the end credits. But he's great. He's one of the best additions to this movie. He's so good. Barbie, by the way, if you didn't know, voiced by Jodie Benson, Ariel from Little Mermaid. So
okay, I forgot who it was. But yeah,
Jodie Benson. So that tracks, like kind of a Disney princess of her own. So and so they get relegated to the caterpillar room, and I like that he uses kind of the wrestling term of like you're gonna pay your dues over there. Essentially, you gotta do your time over there. You gotta pay your dues.
You're a rookie. You're gonna pay. Then you come up to the big leagues.
yeah, pay your dues in the caterpillar room, and if we like you enough, you can graduate to the big league. But yeah, the caterpillar room is full of these toddlers who just when they get in there and they don't realize at first you're just throwing stuff around, and they're chewing on the toys and they're licking them and sticking them up their nose, and they're throwing paint all over them and painting the walls, and it's madness. How is there not an adult there? Like, oh my god, it's chaos.
It's like playtime, they'll come running at them over stampede. Oh shit!
Right before, and it's a great moment because right before it happens, Woody looks over and like there's toys like hiding under the tables and trying to hide under buckets, and he's like, oh shit, essentially like, oh no. But yeah, it's everything's not as it seems, and yeah, they try to request to go to the other room, but Lotso tells him there's a order here, so you start to get hints of there's something maybe just mischievous going on behind the scenes, and yeah, we get Woody is conflicted because he doesn't want to leave, his crew, but he also, wants to get back to Andy, because Andy's expecting him to go to college. So he heads out, he kind of heads out, but he gets caught up, and Bonnie finds him and takes him home. So he's just like, damn it, another situation I got to get out of. But hey, at least she goes to the daycare, so he can always come back to the daycare. But yeah, we go back to her place and we meet a few other toys and some really great again casting all around, because you got Timothy Dalton as Mr. Prickle Pants. He's this like master thespian, bear who just wants to act, and so Timothy Dalton's perfect for that. He just wants to be this actor.
I just rewatched it. He reminds me of almost like a William Dafoe and Beetlejuice, just like acting all the time.
This former actor that just wants to get back to his glory days. Yeah, he's always trying to put on a performance. You get Jeff Garlin in there, who's a new addition. And yeah, who is what's the name? Buttercup? Yeah, he's Buttercup, the kind of with the unicorn, dude. And then you get and they get Kristen Shaw as Trixie. So Kristen Shaw, pretty Rhino. Like a Triceratops or the Rhino, like another dinosaur. Yeah, the other dinosaur, because her and Rex kind of bond later because they're both dinosaurs. But yeah, so
Kristen Shaw, she doesn't need to do a voice because like she's just got that distinct voice. She pretty much at this point just does voice work. Because I'm like, yeah, she's just got that voice. She's a boss
yeah. But yeah, it's fun. So we get to kind of meet them, and he's got to figure out how to get back to Sunnyside, obviously, but he'll get back. And yeah, meanwhile, they're stuck in there. Buzz goes to make kind of a formal request to Lotso, but he finds out there's some sinister stuff going on. And yeah, another great scene where they're having like the gambling scene with like the old toy that you would wind up, and the little arrow would go in the circle and point to the animal and make the animal noises, and they're all betting on it with with like Monopoly money and batteries.
Yeah.
It's like duck, I got duck, quack quack. It's like I win. No, it's great stuff. That's where the line from the trailer about Ken, I'm not a girl's toy. It's really great.
Yeah. Also, like because of like the sort of the Western, there's a Western vibe there because the Southern thing, how they always, they would, I don't know, like that Western, they'd gamble for like nefarious things. It's sort of, it's there is a very Western sort of kind of like vibe to this movie sometimes as well. Just the way Lotso obviously carries himself, and then the gambling. The gambling aesthetic, like you're betting on like things that you wouldn't bet on, is like from classic westerns as well. So
he gets caught. Gets caught by Big Baby, who's kind of the muscle of the group. Just this baby doll who's like intimidating, but has like a lazy eye, but also just constantly it's just like yeah. And later on just cries like a little baby. Look, it's great. Again, great concept, because it looks intimidating. They the way they even film it's good filming because they're always like filming like looking up at Big Baby, to make him look like he's bigger than what he is. But he's just the size of a regular baby doll. He's not that big. He's big to all the other toys. You get the play school phone, who comes into play later, who like kind of the one who didn't get broken, who's kind of hidden in the shadows. There we get our introduction. Well, we find out about the monkey later because we find out the phone tells them how this place is kind of inescapable and whatnot. Buzz gets caught and he finds out this kind of whole sinister plan, what's going on, that Lotso kind of runs this place like a dictatorship. They figure out the manual and they switch Buzz to demo mode. So he goes back to like his factory settings of being like convinced that he's a space ranger, and back to that high energy Buzz.
The OG Buzz or whatever. But and then is it like further after the movie that they change his language settings or something? Is it?
Well, that's later when they save him. Yeah, like during the actual prison break. We get one of the another amazing thing in this movie. Yeah, when they finally get a hold of him, because he goes into like henchman mode for a little while on demo mode, and we get. They lock everybody up at night. That's where we get the Cool Hand Luke reference. That whole speech he does where he's like, anybody caught out of their cage spends a night in the box. Anybody caught Warner in the hall spends a night in the box. Anybody who doesn't answer roll call spends a night in the. That's from Cool Hand Luke, the Paul movie. Directly from that. There's a guy in the movie who's like the boss of the dorm area who does that whole speech in that movie. It's like almost word for word. So that's a great concept of like the box is just a sandbox. It's like a trunk in the sandbox. So that's fun. He becomes like a henchman, essentially, what it is in the middle of the movie we get a prison break movie, which is fun. I love prison break movies, so we get a whole great prison break. I love prison breaks.
That's not what I was expecting when I went to see Toy Story 3 when I'm four. For breaking out of a kindergarten, breaking out of a
daycare center.
Daycare center. I'm sure many kids would want to do that too. This is fun, and it makes for intrigue, and how they do that. I like the homage to obviously other films. I thought it's very clever.
We get like even a little mini montage when the phone is like talking to Woody about how this place is like inescapable, essentially, because Woody makes his way back to the daycare, of course, because she goes there. He can get back. He's got to break them out. He's talking about there's the 8-foot high cinder block wall. You can't go through it. You got to go over it. There's the trucks that patrol, these dump trucks that patrol everywhere. They go. You got Big Baby wandering the halls. And that damn monkey. He's also, there's that monkey. You got to take out the monkey because the monkey, the symbol monkey, like watches the cameras, and if he sees somebody and they show some previous, escape attempts where he like locks eye. It's even kind of creepy because the eyes like lock in, on the bed, and he gets all bulgy eyed and like red, and he like locks in on him, and he pushes the like pager button, because he's like the alarm, and just Slamming the things together. It's great. And my dad, when I saw this the second time, laughed his ass off at that. He thought that was like it was very funny. So he's like, he's the key. You got to take out that monkey. You got to distract and take out the monkey. So that's what they decided to do. They put this whole plan together where Potato Head kind of becomes a decoy. Where he gets kind of taken out, and that's where we get they have to slip him his eyepieces, and he goes from like tortilla potato to cucumber potato. Finally it reminded me of the Pickle Rick stuff in Rick and Morty. If you've seen that, that's what it kind of reminded me of. When Rick has to keep like changing forms, into different things to survive. Yeah, and it becomes Pickle Rick. That's what it reminded me of.
Was Toy Story 3? I think did they use just old lines from Don Rickles, because he passed away around this time, didn't he? Or was it?
I think he was still alive for this one. I think they used the old lines for Toy Story 4, I believe. Yeah. I think he was still around for this one because he still got a decent amount of lines in this movie and a decent part. I think he passed away in like maybe the mid 2010s or something. I got the Wikipedia pulled up. He passed away in 2017, so he's still alive.
Okay, they for Toy Story 4 they just used like old unrecorded.
They used old recorded stuff that they didn't use for the other movies, old recorded lines, and like they kind of spliced together some lines of like a word here, a word there. And but he also, if you watch that movie, he doesn't have a lot to do in that movie. He's just kind of there, and he only has an occasional line. No, he still has a pretty decent role in this one, because he's the decoy. He's always getting thrown around, as he usually does. But yeah, I mean, they kind of they're swinging around, they're opening doors. They take out the monkey, with some tape and whatnot, tape them up, and get there. They're making their way outside, but they still got Big Baby to deal with. But yeah, Lotso cuts them off. When they get to, they're trying to get to like a trash compactor thing, like a trash chute, is what they're trying to get to. It's the only way to get out, to get through the walls. But yeah, we get through the trash chute, and this is where we get Woody confronts Lotso about Daisy, which earlier in the movie we saw a montage. It's kind of similar to the Jesse montage, in the second one, of like the story of Lotso, where he was, kind of misplaced or lost, and he thought he was abandoned, and it's this whole story about him just turning bitter that day, and but it's really well shot. I love the rain effects and everything, and like the way they shoot, it's actually really good. Yeah, this whole montage with Lotso, good stuff.
Yeah, it's just this villain sort of
origin story.
Villain origin story in about like 2 minutes. But it's well shot, and doesn't make you like, I guess, sympathetic, but like it's still I do appreciate they take the time to give you that little backstory, and it's sort of I think they do it. It's really well shot, the way they do it. So and I think it's great. The rain effect is really good.
No, the rain effects are great. Yeah, the way the lightning lights up everything is a good reflection stuff in there. They actually read in the trivia as well, one of the hardest things they had to animate in this movie was the trash bags, oddly enough, because the way the light hits trash bags, if you go into sunlight, and that's really hard to animate, is like sunlight effects and stuff. So that was tough to animate. And I'm sure it was the same for the kind of rain or any kind of reflection, things like that are tough to do. But yeah, it's not that you have to sympathize with Lotso. It's more like, I always appreciate a movie where you can at least understand their perspective.
You understand. You understand. Yeah, that's probably the better word. Yeah.
No, that's the thing is, you don't have to agree with what they're doing, but I like when you at least understand where they're coming from, and you can kind of see their view on the world. It's the classic X-Men thing of Professor X and Magneto. Like, we know both their stories. They're kind of working towards a similar goal, but they have different approaches because of their backgrounds. You know what I mean? Yeah. So where they're coming from, at least their perspective, their life perspective. But yeah, he cuts them off, but Lotso gets stuck with them, in the dumpster, and they're in the trash truck. Unfortunately, the whole crew with Lotso, and we're off to the dump. And it's kind of it becomes a survival, thing there. Classic kind of Toy Story survival adventure where they're going, down the hills and getting picked up by the claw, which is we'll get to one of the great kind of circular, coming back around to the first movies ever, great punchline. But Yeah, I mean they're able to survive like a crusher and this like grinder, using the magnets. But Lotso screws him over. Kind of a double heel turn. He kind of turns. You think like he's gonna turn face, and he stays heel because he doesn't push the emergency button. What a dastardly, what a evil dude, not pushing that button.
He's stone cold in the Invasion era. It's like,
That's
hey,
right.
I know he's on WWE's side. No, he's not.
No, he's not. He stayed with the Alliance. That's right. But yeah, he screws him over, and yeah, this is where we got the stuff in the theater where, and again, I don't know about you, Rick. I never thought they were gonna die necessarily. I mean, I was like, I don't think they'll go that dark to where they're gonna get incinerated. Like they wouldn't go that dark. But there is that moment where like, and it's a great just moment between the characters where there's no dialogue. It's just they all kind of give each other these eyeball and look at each other and kind of, almost like they're just going to accept their fate. We're going to die. We're going to do it together. We're going to stay together and hold hands. And it's great.
Yeah. It was just like, and like, it was just more of like, like it was the one time where I'm like, it was just like, okay, they've just essentially accepted that their luck has run out kind of thing. And I was just like, oh no. I mean, and deep down, I'm like, obviously, that things are gonna be all right, but just like, but the way the emotional gravity of that scene, you're like, but what if they're not?
But what if they're not? No, and the way the music kind of builds to it, there's a great like piece of the score that just kind of builds to it, and then at the very, very last second, when you think it's kind of over, there's a light, and the giant kind of big claw machine comes down, and it's a great payoff because they go up, they go next to the claw, you see the little aliens, and they go the claw, and it's the biggest claw ever, and it's a great just spin around to the first movie. They've been obsessed with the claw every time, and they finally get their chance to be the heroes. It's really great. It's a good moment. I appreciate it. It's a great payoff.
I like how one of the I like how one of the most famous things in the movie is the claw. It's just like the claw, the claw. I feel like in the 90s when you think of the claw, you think of this, you think of Toy Story all the way a lot. It's like,
the claw is our master. He chooses who will go and who will stay. That's great stuff in the first movie.
But I didn't realize you didn't realize like how important the claw would play a part in the rest of the bit.
In saving them, from their certain deaths. Yeah, it's great. But we see the kind of the fate of Lotso. He gets away, but he's kind of wandering around, in the landfill. But a truck comes by, so he plays dead for a second. One of the garbage guys, has a childhood memory of that bear and straps him to the front of the truck with a couple of the toys, and they're like, hey, you might want to keep your mouth shut. They're all covered in bugs, flies, all stuff they get hit with. It's like one of them looks like Kermit. He's like a little puppet, frog puppet kind of thing.
He's like a little haggard and shit.
They're all haggard, just beat to shit. It's great, but it's a nice little payoff for him. We make our way. Eventually catch a ride on the Sid trash truck back to Annie's house just in time to kind of get back in the boxes. Woody kind of has a revelation, about Bonnie, and writes he's gonna send the toys off to Bonnie, where at least he knows where they are. So it's not like he's sending them off to never see them again. He would at least know where the house is, because they've established that he knows where it is in proximity to the daycare and stuff like that. So he knows where the house is. He knows how to find it. So he knows where they're going to be, but he's going to send them off. He puts a little sticky note on there. Andy sees it and he drives over, he grabs the box, on his way to college, and he sees Bonnie. And and this is where the movie just starts to wreck me, like immediately, like pretty much when he from the moment when he kneels down and starts to introduce the toys to Bonnie, that's when I start getting teared up, pretty much immediately. From there to the final goodbye is like, oh god, the faucet turns on like every single time when I watch this movie. I don't know about you, Richie.
Yeah, no, it's definitely, it's just like, just the end of end of like an era. You're like, oh no, he's partying with these toys,
Yeah.
and like you're not even gonna see them again, and it's like, oh no, and it means so much to him, but like, yeah, and especially I don't know, and so and especially for we'll get to it, but like, is it for I don't know, just I don't know, it's hard, like especially like was Woody was part of those toys, right? Was it, because I know like but part of the fourth one is that the kid doesn't actually play with Woody, and he's like sort of just like he's just like
well he's there with the other toys, but she takes him to school every day in the fourth one.
oh yeah.
And so she like packs him in the backpack every day, and he kind of watches over, but he comes back to the house every day. It's not like he's separated from them, but he becomes like much like Andy. Woody kind of becomes Bonnie's like I guess like favorite, like kind of best bud, like in the fourth one. So he's like going back and forth in the backpack to school every day, things like that.
Yeah. But no, it's just it all tears up because it's the end of a chapter basically.
Yeah.
And,
it's perfect the way it's staged. It's such a roller coaster ride of like it's just brilliantly written because he's like he sees the toys and he's like as he's introducing them he's doing it like a little kid would. This is Rex, the meanest dinosaur in all the world. This is the Potato Heads. You got to keep them together. This is Buzz Lightyear, the coolest toy ever, and he shoots lasers and he can fly and all this stuff. And Bonnie, and then he sees Woody at the bottom and he has that moment of hesitation like I can't give Bonnie, Bonnie can't have this one, but she recognizes Woody because, obviously she had been playing with Woody and says, "My cowboy," and he realized that they already have this like connection. They met before, and he just has to like kind of part ways with it and realize that. But the great thing is that then he plays with her, and like they have a final like playtime, like they get one last playtime with Andy, where he, becomes a kid again, and then is playing along with Bonnie and her, haunted bakery thing, whatever she's talking about, volcanoes and haunted bakeries and ghosts, like kids do. But it's brilliantly just done the way like it's the final playtime and it's time to say goodbye. And he's like, thanks for everything. And, Woody's like, bye partner. And you're like, oh, I'm a complete wreck by the end of that scene. It's ridiculous.
And there were no other movies. Nothing ever happened. That was a good bow. It was
it's a perfect way to end this movie, and nothing ever happened. Yeah, that's right. We'll talk about it. We'll get to that. But again, the way they do it is brilliant because we're like you're in like an emotional wreck at the end of that scene. But then we hit the credits, but there's like stuff over the credits. So it's kind of an epilogue, and it's a funnier epilogue. You know what I mean? Or it's like a more uplifting epilogue. See, it brings us back, from the depths of our crying, because we get to see what happens at Sunnyside. Now Lotso's gone, so Ken and Barbie are kind of heading it up, but in a much more positive way. The toys are tagging and literally making tags, like tagging in and out, for the playtime in the Caterpillar room, so they all don't get, beat up too bad. The playtime is a little nicer. Everybody is overall. We get to see Bonnie, playing with all the toys in her room, and she's drawing all of them, and they're putting on Prickle Pants is putting on performance. He's doing Romeo and Juliet with one of the aliens, which is very funny. I thought that was, Romeo. Right now, Romeo. Great. So they're putting on performances and they're playing computer games. So we see everything's working out with Bonnie pretty well. They're sending notes back and forth to the daycare, to Barbie. They think the notes from Barbie. It's a funny moment where it's all glittery and it's written in like pink, and they're like, oh, it was nice of Barbie to write that note, and it's signed by Ken. It's another great.
He's embracing his feminine side.
Yeah, no, he's 100% embraced it. He's got like a glittery note every time he writes a note. It's really funny. But again, there's some great funny stuff here, and they're settling into their new life with Bonnie. So it's all seems to be working out. Here's my thing. So let's get into it about Toy Story 4. I'm not going to crap on it as a movie because it's still a good movie. You know what I mean? Aesthetically speaking, it's still a totally watchable, totally entertaining, good movie. My problem is in the concept of it's more about the ending of Toy Story 4 that bugs me, and where they end up with that movie, and where Woody goes off with Bo Peep and says goodbye, to Buzz and the rest of the toys, and they go their separate ways. My problem with that is there's a big deal in this movie, and you even see it in that trailer, of them saying back and forth, we have to stick together. Like, we will always be a family, we have to stick together. And it's like he abandons that in the fourth one. I don't really get that.
For a chick.
Yeah, for a girl.
And it's not even like a stat, like if it was established that their love was so strong, and like it was not like, I mean, the first one it kind of,
they're just kind of flirty throughout the movies. They're not like in love. She's not even in this movie,
Yeah. So it's just like, it feels like a very, that they tried to find a reason for like Woody to make me do his own thing. And they're like, woman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
but
that and like the I forget the name of the villain doll in the fourth one, but it's just kind of a mishmash of like Lotso and Stinky Pete all kind of mashed into one. It's like the same things about like a toy that wants to be played with and was abandoned in the shot. It's all just kind of concept was already seen before in the other movies. Just throw it into a grinder. And again, there's still good sequences. The animation's still great. I like some of the new characters, the Duke Kaboom, Keanu's fun. The Key and Peele, like teddy bears are fun. They're all right.
I like Forky. He's all right.
Forky's funny. No, Forky in the first act, I like the concept of introducing Forky. I just think you could have done a short just about Forky, and I think it would have worked because I like that. Because I don't mind, Richie, that they went on to do like the short films, where we kind of check in on them every now and then. They had like the Toy Story of Terror and the Land That Time Forgot short or whatever, just like these little shorts. And it's like, yeah, let's check in every now and then, just see them have a little mini adventure, just see how they're doing. They're still with Bonnie. Everybody's doing good. Like, I don't mind that at all. Like, let's check in with the characters. Cool. Like, fine. It's just like doing a whole nother movie that I feel like just kind of retreads stuff we already had in the third one. And yeah, I like the Forky stuff. That montage in the fourth one where Forky is constantly trying to run for a garbage can makes me laugh every time. It's very funny. Like, where he's just constantly just like trash, and Woody keeps having to like grab him and like pull him back, from like running to every garbage can he sees. It's very funny. Like, and I like the existential moral crisis he's having about being a sentient piece of trash. Like, I think that's interesting. But again, it would have made for a good short film. Like, let's make Forky the short film about like this new toy, that Bonnie has, and they gotta like, train him to be a toy or whatever. I'd be totally fine with that as like a 15-minute short film. Cool. And it's what it seems like. Because he gets lost in the shuffle at the end of the movie. Like, they like forget about that storyline altogether, like halfway through.
Yeah, it's just like, it's sort of like a cute character that you can put in the trailer, and then
and a new toy you could sell in stores. Essentially, is a marketing thing. That's what it was. Yeah, but and I'm thinking what I don't know. I had an idea that I don't know if it'd be a good idea, but I thought maybe the idea for the fifth one, or where they'll go eventually, is like like that kid, even your kids this young don't play with toys that much anymore. And it's more digitized and stuff. So maybe go towards that. You keep talking. I just gotta answer the door. Give me a sec. Yeah, for sure. No, I mean, I don't know where Toy Story 5 is going to go conceptually, because obviously they're going to have to find a way to bring back, Woody and the gang and kind of bring that together, because they're separated now. Bonnie just has Buzz and his crew now, so I'm sure they'll find a way to bring them to reunite them. I don't think there's been any kind of confirmation on what the actual story is. I know Anna Faris has joined the cast. It's supposed to come out in June of 2026, so we still got another year and some change till we get there. But I don't know where they're going to go with the story. Are they going to go with kids not playing toys anymore, or kids not going more towards, video games and whatnot? That could be a concept. It's kind of similar to my pitch that I had if they did a Roger Rabbit sequel, which I know will probably never happen. But if they were to do some kind of Roger Rabbit sequel where everything's CGI, animation now, and it's all 3D animation, and 2D characters have kind of gone to the wayside and things like that. That was always my pitch for Roger Rabbit. But I don't know where they're going to go with Toy Story 5. We'll see. We still got a year to go for Toy Story 5, scheduled for June of 2026. So we'll know, next year. We'll see.
Does Pixar have like a CinemaCon thing like scheduled? Like
I don't know, or if we did, we probably would have heard something by now. So I don't know. I think CinemaCon is only ever like every 2 years or something. So I don't know if they did or not. But
yeah, so I'm pretty sure that's still it goes all week. So I don't know if they're still got a panel on or what's, because I guess if that was the case, that they would announce something that they would probably.
I did Toy Story 5 in a Google and clicked on news, and there hasn't been anything this week. So I don't. If there was something, there would be articles about it if there was something. The only thing I find on Wikipedia is that Anna Faris has a role in the movie, some new role. I don't know. But I was just talking about how they got to obviously figure out how to get Woody reunited with the crew. So like, because they're separated right now, so we'll see what happens there.
Yeah.
But
they probably only did that. They probably only did that to get a fifth one.
Yeah, but it's one of those things where Disney's having some, let's just say, some financial troubles right now with some pretty epic bombs they've had. So they're going back to the well. We had Finding Dory. We had Moana 2 was a big hit. Inside Out 2 was a big hit. They're making Coco 2. We're doing Toy Story 5. So now we're going like back to the franchises. Because I don't know how Elio's going to do. Is that the name of the movie this summer that the Pixar movie we're getting? It's like Elio, something like that.
Yeah. They're relying on They're relying on a lot of past IP. I feel like it's weird to say nostalgia.
Brian said they did have a panel, but it was mostly about Elio. It wasn't anything about Toy Story 5. So I guess that makes sense. That's what they're pushing right now. But yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm not sure. Like, I feel like I don't know. Elio might do all right, and it's probably it's hard to know. Like sometimes because something like it was Elemental didn't do great at the cinema initially, and then sort of.
But it's done well on streaming and stuff like that. It's actually blown up pretty good there. Yeah, and it wasn't a bad movie. I watched it on streaming, Disney Plus. Not bad. I like some of the concepts in it. Some decent stuff. Yeah, some of their other ones have been hit or miss recently as far as like what we had like Luca and what Turning Red.
Turning Red.
Yeah. I feel like they haven't had like, and even Inside Out 2, like I wasn't as high on as everybody else was. I feel like it was kind of just a retread of the first one, and it just didn't. Yeah, it didn't get me as much as the first one did with like the Bing Bong stuff and all that. I just felt like it was just a lot of the same stuff again. I wasn't as invested as everybody else. It made a lot of money though, so it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I liked it, but it didn't hit me as much. Yeah, kind of wouldn't mind if they like kind of. Like maybe focus on other characters throughout, throughout their, like it'd be. I thought maybe it would have been cool, like they referenced it, but like how they, they saw the emotions inside of like Riley's mum, right? Like I don't know, like it'd be cool to just focus on like what maybe what she like what parents go through more, or I mean,
they teased that in the first movie at like the end of the movie where they showed. The heads inside the two parents, inside the dad and the mom, and it was like a whole different set of like emotions, and it was interesting. We got like a glimpse of that, and I'd like to see them more of like dealing with a kid that's going through puberty and becoming an adult, and like the empty nest thing that moms go through when the kid moves out. There's things you could do with that, but I know the focus is on kids obviously. But I feel like there's more you could do with that concept, overall.
Yeah, and we're getting.
We're getting a third one because the second one made $1.5 billion, so we're getting a third one. It's gonna happen. You guarantee they're writing it right now. I mean, so we'll see. Pixar has been a little rocky. I forget Lightyear's even a movie sometimes. That movie just like doesn't exist. It's just like.
What about that? Was that maybe Strange World? Was that Pixar or was that just Disney?
Strange World was just Disney. That was just an epic Disney.
Okay, that must be the biggest bomb ever because that just came and went.
That one came with it was like $100 million budget and made no money whatsoever. Yeah, it was bad. But Lightyear didn't make money either, so that was not great. And some of those movies came out during COVID, so they just put them straight on streaming. So, like Soul. So I mean, but getting back, to this one, let's get back to Toy Story 3 and kind of wind up our thoughts on this one. A good movie that we do very much like. Richie, your kind of overall thoughts on on just Toy Story
Yeah.
3, and as
Yeah.
as what would have been an ending to a trilogy, really good ending to a trilogy. Kind of like Last Crusade.
It's just a delightful movie, really well written, very funny, but very emotional. It gets all the emotional, it hits all the emotional beats. Yeah, great characters. But yeah, and it wraps up the trilogy really well. And yeah, so I would have been satisfied if this is last we if this was the closure of these characters. But I should not be so silly. We live in a capitalist world that's made heaps of money. We gotta make more. We'll probably get Toy Story 10. Who knows? But yeah, like this movie is fantastic. It definitely deserves all its accolades. Yeah, definitely the best animated film that year. And yeah, I thought this was just a lot of fun. But yeah, one that's hard to get through because it's emotional.
No, I mean, and they were doing some good emotional stuff around the time. I mean, they were still on. I would say, Richie, they were still on a good streak at the time. I mean, maybe their only stumble, if you could call it that, at the time was the original Cars. But even the original Cars is not that bad. It's fine for what it is.
Yeah.
I don't mind the world they set up, and it's fine. Like, it's not that bad. It's not as bad as the sequels. Like, I'd much rather watch the original Cars than like Cars.
The original Cars is fine. Yeah, it's just not doesn't hit as much as maybe the others, but it's not. I think
but they bounced right back after that because you had Ratatouille, you had Wall-E, and Up all before Toy Story 3. So they were still on a good streak there.
Yeah.
They had The Incredibles, Finding Nemo. I mean, they were still rolling. It's where you got after that where you had Cars 2, which was not great. You had Brave, which I feel like just kind of came and went.
That was not great. Yeah.
Monsters University, which is underrated. I do like Monsters University.
That's fine.
Inside Out was good. That was big, and that was kind of a return to like classic Pixar. Good Dinosaur was a dud. Finding Dory, was a big hit. Not as good as the original, but a big hit. Cars 3 is terrible. And then Coco was good. So I mean, they've had an up and down, sort of thing since then. Hit or miss kind of track record since then. It's like one that really hits with the people and makes money and is really critically acclaimed, and the other ones just kind of come and go. They hit and not much.
And Kanto was popular as well. With that didn't make.
Oh yeah, sure.
Out. But yeah, I figure that's one of those movies I forget exists. Unfortunately.
Yeah, no. Some of these I just forget. Yeah, were a thing. Like Lightyear, I refuse to remember that movie exists. Yeah, it's bad. But yeah, Toy Story 3. Yeah, again, it's like Last Crusade, and then it's kind of a perfect. Like, if you take it as a trilogy, like, it's one of the greatest trilogies ever. Like, just Toy Story 1, 2, and 3 are fantastic. And they all have different themes and different nice blends of humor. You really get to know these characters, and they take them in interesting directions, and still kind of they all feel fresh and unique with the different settings and whatnot. Because the second one's fun with all the Toy Story stuff and the Wayne Knight stuff, and and Stinky Pete's great. Stinky Pete and all that stuff is great. And Woody learning more about himself and all that, and the introduction of Jesse. Like, all those movies are great. Who knows? We could do the first or second one. They're on the wheel, so that's a possibility. We could spin them at some point. Yeah. I wouldn't mind talking about the second one because the second one was my favorite for a long time. I think the second one's
same here. I feel like the second one gets underrated sometimes.
Yeah, no, it really does. But yeah, this one's fantastic. Yeah, the introduction of the Ken and Barbie stuff is excellent. Yeah, Ned Beatty as Lotso gives a really, really good performance. Even the ancillary characters in the daycare, Big Baby and the monkey and all stuff are a lot of fun, for what they are. They add a nice dynamic to it of like these henchmen, for this, for this dictator. And and again, a great like just payoff of these characters, and you don't realize how invested you are in them until you get to those final scenes and you're like, oh yeah, I really like these characters. Please don't leave them. But it works, and it shows you how great these quality these movies are, and how much we actually grew up with them. So if you haven't watched it in a while, just have the tissues ready. But it is very, very good, and it's definitely one of the better movies we've ever covered. Home Alone movies for sure. So highly, highly recommend Toy Story 3. If you for whatever reason either I would say haven't seen it, but if you haven't gone back and watched this since theaters, it's worth a rewatch. Go check it out. It's very, very well done. So we'll wrap it up there. And as we talked about near the beginning of the show, yes, unfortunately, we have to do an emergency tribute episode next week, as we did for Gene Hackman. Val Kilmer passed away. Rest in peace, Val Kilmer. I know he'd been going through a lot of health issues, and he battled throat cancer, and apparently just a really bad battle of pneumonia got him, which can happen when you're in poor health. So it's an unfortunate situation. But yeah, I'm a Western guy, Richie, and I think one of his most famous roles, and a lot of people would say one of his easy top 3 or 5 roles as Doc Holliday in Tombstone. So let's talk a little Tombstone next week. What do you say? What's your history with Tombstone? Have you seen it or have been watching?
I've seen it. It's been a long time, long time. Like I had to sit on this show before. I probably watched a lot of movies that I probably shouldn't before. I probably should have just because parents just let me watch most things, and my dad owned a video store. So yeah, I watched Tombstone around then. But I don't know if I maybe watched it once since then. But yeah, so it'll be almost like a fresh watch for me when I watch it again. But yeah, I have seen it before. But yeah, it is often touted as one of the definitely one of his better performances, and one of his more famous performances. So yeah, I think this is the best one to do. It's cool that iconic actor like him has there's many good shows, but I think Tombstone is the right one.
Yeah, no, we're talking about it. And when you go back and watch that movie, Richie, try to find anybody who you don't know in that movie, because oh my God, is everybody somebody in that movie? That cast is ridiculous, even to the smallest roles. So yeah, spot however many people you can spot. That movie is chock full of recognizable people. So it'll be a lot of fun to talk about. Yeah, it's been a while since I watched it start to finish. I see clips a lot. And actually, there's a restaurant I go to called Binion's. It's like a steakhouse. They have Tombstone on like a loop on this TV, and I always somehow get seated right near that TV, so I see Tombstone on the TV when I go there with no sound. So
I'm a huge fan. So
I guess it just plays on a loop. I swear to God, every time I'm there. So, but yeah, I like Westerns. I like Tombstone. It'll be a bit of fun rewatch. So there'll be a lot to talk about there. And yeah, we'll talk about Val Kilmer. Yeah, we'll talk a little bit about Val Kilmer, some of his other roles as well at the beginning of that show. But yeah, we'll do that next week. So we'll do our little emergency tribute episode for that, and then we'll take a week off after that and come back hopefully with a regular wheel selection. So all right, but yeah, that'll do it for tonight. Yeah, stay healthy, people. Don't die. Yes, please.
At least for a few weeks, okay? On reprieve.
Yeah, do it for us and for nothing else. Yeah, that doesn't sound incredibly pretentious and selfish. Yeah, right. Just if you're gonna do it for anything, just do it for those guys. Yeah, Wheel of Movies. But yeah, let's wrap it up there. So let's get the plugs and our parting words out of the way, and we'll get out of here so we can go talk some wrestling, Richie. So what you got going on?
Yeah, I was going to say Wheel of Movies. No, that we do is concluding.
No, we're doing that right now.
Lonely Marks. Here in a few minutes, talking retro review of WrestleMania 21, as well as the news and fantasy update. So that should be fun. And beyond that, I've got you can find me on Why We Love Horror. Got a match scheduled coming up here soon. Keep your eyes out for that. Team match with Malcolm versus Jeremy Potters and Will Cohen. Should be fun. And then you can catch me on ASAT, often on JPO's channel, Tournament Fights, Tier Ranker, all that jazz.
Yeah, no, and I'm actually not on Tier Ranker tomorrow night. They're doing their TV wrap-up thing, and since I haven't seen most of the TV shows post-2000 on that show, I'm not part of that one. He brought me in for the 70s, 80s, and 90s ones because I'm more familiar with those, but yeah, I'm not going to be on the championship because half of those shows I haven't seen. But I did make the Tier Ranker for him. But yeah, instead, I think tomorrow night I'm going to be on Battleground Casual with Aaron Knoll over on TMG Entertainment. We're going to talk about CinemaCon, so all the different developments and news that came out of CinemaCon. So I'll take some notes tomorrow and see what we want to talk about. And then, and it'll just be the kind of usual Movie Hero Network stuff next week, getting back to some tournament fights. And I will link to the Lonely Marks in the Movie Hero Network Facebook group, so you can go over there and subscribe. We'd appreciate that. We have a new logo for that, Richie. Jordan Anderson made one for us. Yay! We have a logo now. So shout out to you, Jordan, for making us a Lonely Marks logo. I appreciate it with his AI machine. So that was great. Appreciate that. And we'll be talking some news and WrestleMania 21, which happened 20 years ago to the day today. So that should be fun to talk about. So it's a good WrestleMania. I had fun rewatching it. So good stuff. But yeah, that'll do it for now. So we'll get over and talk some wrestling in a few minutes. That'll wrap it up for right now for the Wheel of Movies. So thanks, Richie, as always, for joining me. I appreciate that. We'll come back next week with Tombstone. But that'll do it for now. So for Richie, I have been your host, Austin Pez Howell, and we will see you guys next time.